Everyone knows how dangerous drugs are, but hearing it 1,000 times isn't as impactful as seeing it firsthand. Director Johnny focuses on drug trafficking and addiction, portraying scenes of drug dealing and execution by injection in the most realistic way for the audience. Director Du tackles one of the most sensitive and heavy topics in mainland China. He pushes the boundaries set by the authorities, inviting us to explore the nature of good and evil and the fine line between right and wrong. The story begins on an ordinary afternoon. A smoking bus slowly enters the Jinhai City Highway toll booth. Toll collector Xiao Bei notices the white smoke from the bus's tail and quickly asks the driver if he needs help. The driver explains that the bus's water tank is overheating and requests to add some water at the toll station. Helpful Xiao Bei quickly contacted a colleague. A bus with an overheated water tank needs to come in for water. The man speaking is named Daniel, who has been dealing drugs for years. The people in the car are all his accomplices. The drug dealer's professional instincts made him feel something was off. The other man beside him quickly reassured Daniel that he was overthinking. In reality, he is Captain Zhang from the anti-narcotics team, undercover beside Daniel. At this moment, the toll station is surrounded by police, including Xiao Bei and the driver, who are all in plain clothes. Today is the big day for the operation. Xiao Bei directs the driver to head to the monitoring center. Seeing more and more people gathering, Daniel becomes even more certain there's a mole and tries to escape with his accomplices. The police quickly apprehended most of the drug gang. Daniel, unaware of Captain Zhang's true identity, called him to escape together. But Captain Zhang swiftly tackled him to the ground and handcuffed him. Only then did Daniel realize he had been betrayed by the person he trusted the most. Everyone was taken to the hospital because their bodies were used as containers for smuggling drugs. The police gave each of them a bedpan and demanded they expel the meth. As Daniel took the chamber pot and was about to leave, he saw Officer Zhang, the man who had arrested him. His pent-up anger immediately erupted. At this moment, a man named Kai Tianming is being wheeled into the hospital bed. He had just crashed a car into a restaurant and is now in a coma, with injuries all over his body. Kai Tianming's face and hands show signs of chemical burns. Captain Zhang takes a sniff and immediately realizes this is not a simple matter. Captain Zhang and Xiao Bei rushed to the restaurant where the incident occurred. The area outside the restaurant was already cordoned off, and the vehicle involved was still in the middle of the lobby. Captain Zhang found Kai Tianming's phone left behind in the car. The screen showed 25 missed calls. They quickly took the phone back to the police station for investigation. Since the numbers were encrypted, Captain Zhang couldn't find any leads. Suddenly, Captain Zhang noticed a text message full of numbers in the inbox. However, he couldn't figure out how to decode it at the moment. At this moment, Xiao Bei, who has been investigating the car's dashcam, made a discovery. Kai Tianming's car came out of a factory that had just experienced a massive explosion. Captain Zhang decided to go and see what was going on. After pushing open the factory door, Captain Zhang was forced to step back by the pungent smell. The ground was littered with shattered bottles and jars from the explosion, with unknown yellow liquid flowing everywhere. Covering his mouth with a glove, Captain Zhang continued to move forward. A horrifying scene unfolded before his eyes. In the corner of the factory lay two men and a woman in protective suits. The deceased were Kai Tianming's wife and two brothers. Clearly, this was a drug manufacturing plant. Due to unknown reasons, a massive explosion occurred. Kai Tianming narrowly escaped with his life, but his wife and brother were not so fortunate and perished in the blast. In the hospital, Kai Tianming had already woken up from his coma. Taking advantage of Xiaoxiang's absence, he quietly slipped out of the room. To be safe, the cautious Kai Tianming grabbed a small knife for self-defense. Unfortunately for him, he ran into Officer Zhang in the lobby. Kai Tianming turned and fled, with Officer Zhang chasing him all the way to the morgue. Hearing the noise from the locker, Captain Zhang gathered everyone together. Kai Tianming was taken into custody and prepared for questioning at the police station. Just as the car started, the anti-drug department of Yuejiang City received news that a truck belonging to Li Zhenbiao had entered Jinhai from Yuejiang. Li Zhenbiao is a notorious drug lord, and most of the drugs circulating in the market have passed through his hands. Two colleagues from the Yuejiang anti-drug department have been chasing this truck for a day and a night. They're already exhausted, but the truck shows no sign of stopping. Therefore, they requested Captain Zhang to bring reinforcements. Captain Zhang ordered someone to take Kai Tianming back first, while he and Xiaoxiang went to check it out. After catching up with his two colleagues, Captain Zhang immediately shouted through the window. Captain Zhang overtakes the truck to check the situation. The two men in the truck are unaware that they are being watched. The man in the passenger seat, Hao, is cursing because no one is answering his calls. It turns out that the two men have been trying to call Kai Tianming. Captain Zhang, deep in thought, leaves Xiao Xiang to continue the pursuit and heads back to the station to meet Kai Tianming. Kai Tianming sat coldly in the interrogation room. Officer Zhang asked about his relationship with the two men in the truck. Kai Tianming clenched his teeth and refused to answer. Officer Zhang reminded him that if he didn't cooperate with the police, given the known facts of drug trafficking and manufacturing, he couldn't escape the death penalty. At that moment, Kai Tianming's phone rang again. After confirming that meritorious service can reduce the sentence. The digital messages on the phone were also deciphered. Brother Chang's real name is Li Shuchong, and he is the nephew of Li Jinbiao. Haha brother owns the largest fishing port and the most fishing boats in Jinhai. Tonight is their first meeting after being introduced by Kai Tianming. Captain Zhang pondered for a moment and handed the phone to Kai Tianming. Finally hearing Kai Tianming's voice, Erheo immediately started complaining. Kai Tianming interrupted him, saying that there had been a huge explosion at his factory. He asked Erheo and his companion to go directly to Azhou to pick up the goods from his apprentice's factory. The men didn't doubt him and immediately headed to Azhou. Captain Zhang decided to take a two-pronged approach. He had Xiaoxiang and colleagues from Yuejiang keep a close watch on the truck, while he himself followed Kai Tianming to deal with Haha and Li Shuchong. He arranged for Kai Tianming to invite both of them to a hotel, one after the other. The first to meet was Haha. Before the meeting, Xiaobei had already set up surveillance. Once everything was ready, Captain Zhang and Kai Tianming entered Haha's room together. Haha and his girlfriend Lingling had been waiting for a long time. When Kai Tianming introduced Captain Zhang as Li Shuchong, Haha, eager to connect with Li Jinbiao, immediately became enthusiastic. Captain Zhang had a stern look on his face, appearing very indifferent. Haha, however, seemed completely unbothered. He asked Lingling to lead them to the dining table and have them sit down. After sitting down, Captain Zhang casually placed the cigarette pack with a hidden camera on the table. Xiao Bei immediately had his men monitor everything in the room. Before the meeting, Haha had already found out that Li Shuchong was a complete addict. To show his sincerity and cooperation, Haha had Lingling bring a delicate little box. He said that all the items inside were hard-to-find treasures. Kai Tianming noticed that Captain Zhang's cigarette pack was blocked. Trying to please Captain Zhang, he pretended to want a cigarette and picked up the pack. The camera then perfectly captured Haha's boastful talk. Brother Haha is bragging about his extensive network of connections. Whether domestic or international, he knows countless influential people. Without any warning, Brother Haha suddenly reached out and took the cigarette pack from Kai Tianming's hand. Kai Tianming quickly took back the cigarette pack and threw it to Captain Zhang. Captain Zhang knew when to stop and stood up, buttoning his suit. On the other side, the real Li Shuchong has also arrived at the hotel. Upon receiving the message, Captain Zhang hurried to meet with Xiao Bei. This time, Xiao Bei will disguise as Lingling, and Captain Zhang will disguise as Brother Haha. This time, Wei will disguise as Lingling, and Captain Zhang will pretend to be Brother Haha. They have memorized the entire conversation and are ready to— Upon seeing Li Shuchong, Captain Zhang immediately mimicked Haha's excited and enthusiastic greeting. Unfortunately, Li Shuchong didn't seem to be impressed by his act. Li Shuchong pushed a pile of powder in front of Captain Zhang. Captain Zhang naturally knew what he meant and declined, saying he only sells but never uses. Captain Zhang, imitating Haha, boasted about his connections, assuring that if they worked together, they would both make a fortune. However, Li Shuchong pushed another pile of powder over. Captain Zhang knew Li Shuchong was testing him, but he had no choice but to comply. Unexpectedly, Li Shuchong kept pushing, bringing a third pile of powder. Captain Zhang's behavior as an addict made Li Shuchong completely drop his guard. He invited Captain Zhang and Kai Tianming to have lunch with Li Jinbiao at Yuejiang tomorrow. After sending off Li Shuchong, Captain Zhang, unable to hold on any longer, collapsed in agony. The massive amount of drugs nearly cost him his life. Plainclothes officers swarmed in, first subduing Kai Tianming. They then tried to take Captain Zhang to the hospital, but Kai Tianming stopped them. Following Kai Tianming's suggestion, Captain Zhang was placed in a bathtub filled with ice. The freezing cold made him vomit uncontrollably. After this intense battle with death, Captain Zhang finally recovered. He wrapped himself in a thick towel and walked over to Kai Tianming. I know Captain Zhang is suspecting me. Kai Tianming angrily emphasized that he was already doing his best to cooperate. No problem, there's still time. Meanwhile, Xiao Xiang and his team chased the truck until nightfall. Suddenly, the truck lost control and crashed into a pile of rocks. The two men in the truck started fighting for some unknown reason. Xiao Xiang quickly reported the situation to Captain Zhang. Captain Zhang was currently on the high-speed train to Azhou with Kai Tianming. He asked Kai to contact her Heo to check on the situation. A confused Heo asked Xiao Xiang in the car behind for their location. Captain Zhang and Kai Tianming got off the high-speed train early. After fitting the monitor on him, Captain Zhang escorted Kai Tianming near the truck. Before Kai got off, Captain Zhang reminded him to stay alert. Kai Tianming gained a brief moment of freedom. He walked over to two men and saw them sitting on a pile of stones, looking lost. Kai Tianming knew they must have overdosed again. He rushed over and started punching and kicking the two men. Then he grabbed one of them, shoved him into the car, and pointed his handgun at her Heo. Worried about the situation escalating, everyone closely watched Kai Tianming's next move. Kai Tianming knew he was being watched by countless eyes. He didn't make any rash moves and returned to the truck with her Heo. Kai Tianming told Captain Zhang that due to their poor mental state, he would drive. He cooperated all the way without causing any trouble, successfully brought everyone to the apprentices' factory in Azhou. To avoid alerting anyone, Captain Zhang had everyone hide outside the factory. Kai Tianming went in alone. Seeing their master suddenly appear, the disciples De Long and Xiao Long were very happy. They immediately rushed over, gesturing excitedly. Kai Tianming instructed them to load the goods first and talk after everything was done. While everyone was busy, Kai Tianming followed Captain Zhang's instructions and quietly installed surveillance cameras in various corners of the factory. After loading the goods, the four of them, including the couple De Long and Xiao Long, invited Kai Tianming to join them for a meal. Suddenly, Kai Tianming, with tears in his eyes, poured a glass of wine on the ground. Hearing this sudden bad news, both couples were deeply saddened. Upon learning that Kai Tianming had not properly paid his respects, De Long quickly asked his wife to find some joss paper. But on such a dark and windy night in the wilderness, where could she find joss paper? Hearing this, the deaf brother directly took out 2 bags of real money and started burning it in an iron basin. At this moment, the 2 men in the car finally woke up and ran over to apologize to Kai Tianming. Seeing the 2 get on the truck and leave 2 of Yue Zheng's colleagues quickly said goodbye to everyone and immediately set off to follow them. Li Shuchang texted Kai Tianming to meet at the Crown Rooftop Bar. At the appointed time, Captain Zhang and Kai Tianming set off on time. Just as they set off, Li Shuchang's phone suddenly rang. Everyone quickly looked around the road. Li Shuchang's car was indeed parked not far away. Li Jinbiao finally appeared, sitting in the car with a serious expression. Li Jinbiao asked Officer Zhang to find the white truck at the intersection. The car contains the drugs he's ready to trade. The team asks Captain Zhang if they should act now. Captain Zhang held everyone back. After all, dealing with an old fox like Li Jinbiao requires extra caution. Captain Zhang decided to first check out the truck to see what's really going on. As expected by Captain Zhang, Li Jinbiao was merely testing the waters this time. What Captain Zhang cautiously retrieved was just a box of cigars. As the net closes in, Captain Zhang instructs Kai Tianming to inform Big Def and Little Def to ship the goods. They first go to make a deal with Brother Haha. After dark, Kai Tianming brings a full load of goods. They rush to Haha's fishing port, where food and drinks were already prepared. Notice that the cargo ship is fully loaded and ready to depart. The Coast Guard immediately moved to intercept them and confiscated all the drugs. Captain Zhang led a team to surround the fishing port. They first threw a mini-bomb into the room. Caught off guard, Mr. and Mrs. Haha were immediately subdued. Realizing that Kai Tianming had betrayed them, Mr. Haha was instantly furious. Meanwhile, the siege on Big Def and Little Def was also underway. In reality, these two were far from weak as they appeared. When a large number of police suddenly rushed in, they quickly grabbed their pistols and began to fight back. Xiao Long used iron cans to create a barricade and, under its cover, frantically shot at the police. De Long raised the shovel and started digging furiously behind Xiao Long. It turns out they had already prepared a secret tunnel in the factory. This way, they could escape immediately if discovered. After digging the tunnel, the 2 brothers successfully pulled off a great escape. The police reached the entrance of the secret passage. Just as they were about to continue tracking the 2 brothers, the explosives set by the brothers detonated, wiping out all the officers present. The news of the attack quickly reached Captain Zhang. Hearing that their comrade had died tragically, everyone was devastated. Xiao Xiang vented all his anger on Kai Tianming. Captain Zhang ordered to take Kai Tianming back to headquarters. He will complete the next operation alone. Kai Tianming panicked upon hearing this. Kai Tianming reminds Captain Zhang these people will arrive at the fishing port in an hour. If they find any flaws, the entire operation will fail. All their previous efforts will be in vain. It turns out that the mastermind is someone else. After careful consideration, Captain Zhang decided to give Kai Tianming one last chance. As Kai Tianming mentioned, there was indeed a group of men and women from Hong Kong behind Li Jinbiao. They arrived at the fishing port at dawn, blending in with the bustling fishermen. Each of them dressed modestly, looking no different from the locals. Shortly after the Hong Kong people arrived, uncle and nephew Lai also showed up in a luxury car, making a grand entrance. Officer Zhang led them upstairs to take a seat. To show off his power, Captain Zhang proudly announced that all the fishing boats in the harbor were his. Seeing such a massive operation, Li Jinbiao was skeptical. The man on the headset is Kai Tianming's master, Lao Yi, and the true mastermind behind all the operations. As his orders were relayed, Captain Zhang immediately contacted the harbor dispatcher to respond. However, Li Shuchong, who had been sitting quietly, seemed dissatisfied. With Captain Zhang's command, all the ships set sail immediately. Witnessing this magnificent scene, the 7 Hong Kongers laughed joyfully. It seems that as long as they can successfully collaborate with Captain Zhang, the future holds great promise. Li Jinbiao asked the 7 investors what they thought about this collaboration. Since everyone already acknowledged Captain Zhang's capabilities, they all agreed enthusiastically. The boss decided to play a game of hunger marketing to keep Zhang's team in suspense. That night, Captain Zhang led his team to the grand stage. The bright lights and lively atmosphere on stage didn't disrupt their deal. To satisfy these old foxes, Captain Zhang immediately offered a huge order worth 120 million. Li Jinbiao placed a lighter on the table, which actually had a bug inside. Captain Zhang pretended not to know and casually picked it up to play with it. Captain Zhang decided to use a countermeasure. He angrily pointed the gun at Kai Tianming, suspecting a bug. Undercover, Captain Zhang led his team to escort Kai Tianming and the Li family uncle and nephew out of the bar. This made the 7 Hong Kong people at the next table very anxious. They immediately followed Zhang's team to the garage. The master stopped Officer Zhang and directly revealed his identity without beating around the bush. Seeing this group of foxes finally reveal their tails, Captain Zhang felt a surge of joy, but he still went along with the act. The master asked Captain Zhang to release a few people first. Anyway, since Kai Tianming was wearing a bug, Captain Zhang agreed with a wave of his hand. At that time, he never imagined that this would lead to a great tragedy. The next day, the transaction between the two sides proceeded as scheduled. Kai Tianming asked the Hong Kong people to call back the 2 truck drivers. The police who were tracking them, though confused, had no choice but to follow. Meanwhile, Kai Tianming and the Hong Kongers also set off. Unexpectedly, halfway through the journey, Kai Tianming suddenly asked the truck driver to change direction. This is exactly Jinhai number 2 primary school. Captain Zhang sensed something was wrong and quickly moved his team near the elementary school. Soon, Kai Tianming's car appeared at the school gate. He suddenly ripped off his listening device and revealed the whole truth. The Hong Kong people were stunned, realizing they had all fallen into the police's trap. Seeing more and more police cars gathering, everyone was at a loss for what to do. At this moment, the truck also arrived. Looking at the elementary school in front of him, Arheo felt quite frustrated. Realizing that Kai Tianming had betrayed them, Captain Zhang ordered immediate action. With many children at the school gate, Xiaobei quickly rushed to evacuate them to avoid any harm. This gave Kai Tianming an opportunity, and he hit Xiaobei with his car. He grabbed his pistol, jumped out of the car, and got into the school bus of the 2nd elementary school. He started shooting at Xiaobei next to the bus. Xiao Xiang rushed over to save her, but was unfortunately hit and killed. Xiaobei also succumbed after being shot several times. However, Kai Tianming showed no intention of stopping. Seeing the bus full of innocent children, the deranged Kai Tianming conceived a terrifying idea. On the street, 7 Hong Kongers decided to break through. They engaged in a fierce gunfight with the police, but were soon overwhelmed and suffered heavy casualties. They all hid behind the cars, not daring to show themselves again. At this moment, Kai Tianming suddenly started the school bus and drove over. The police hesitated to shoot at the school bus because they were wary of the children at the window. The Hong Kong people thought Kai Tianming was there to pick them up, and they all ran out joyfully. Unexpectedly, Kai Tianming suddenly slammed the car door shut. Without any cover, the police immediately opened fire on them. Several people fell to the ground amidst the chaos, and the master secretly climbed into a car. He wanted to escape with the last few survivors, but Kai Tianming, who was determined to kill them, unexpectedly shot the old man dead. The people of Hong Kong were finally defeated as they saw Kai Tianming drive the school bus away. Concerned about the children's safety, Captain Zhang quickly led his team to pursue them. Unexpectedly, Kai Tianming ran into De Long and Xiaolong's car on the road. Not wanting any complications, Kai Tianming shot them immediately. Only then did the two disciples realize their master's true nature, and a gunfight ensued. Captain Zhang arrived with his team. Realizing he had no escape, Kai Tianming decisively threw away his gun and surrendered to the police. Shouting for help, Officer Zhang fiercely grabs the defecting Kai Tianming. Captain Zhang, dragging his injured leg, first went to deal with the deaf brothers. He stood on the trunk of his subordinate's car. Both of them fired their guns as they approached the brothers. Kai Tianming struggled desperately to break free from the hands holding him, even using the car door to hit them. By the time Captain Zhang and his team drove up to the deaf brothers, both sides had been shot multiple times. Everyone was covered in blood, lying on the ground in disarray. At this moment, Kai Tianming had successfully broken his handcuffs. He picked up the handgun on the ground and gave each person present a bullet. Kai Tianming then took out a car key, intending to escape. Unexpectedly, Captain Zhang used his last bit of strength to handcuff his hand to Kai Tianming's foot. Unable to free himself from Captain Zhang, Kai Tianming had no choice but to drag his body along. At this moment, a large number of police had already arrived. Kai Tianming knew he was truly caught this time. In despair, he finally chose to surrender. Kai Tianming was executed for multiple crimes including intentional homicide, escape, and drug trafficking. Even on the execution platform, he desperately tried to confess and earn merit. But the poison of death had already been injected into his body. This wicked man, who only ever sought to save himself, finally met his end. As a co-production between mainland China and Hong Kong, Drug War may not be Johnny 2's best work, but it is still considered a classic. Its greatest achievement lies in breaking many creative barriers and pushing the limits of film release to the maximum. Although it follows a single narrative line, the story is tightly paced and complex, with multiple climaxes. It starts with an accidental explosion at a drug manufacturing plant and delves into the vast underground world of drug production, trafficking, and dealing. The tragic ending inevitably reminds one of Galaxy's masterpiece from years ago. The unexpected and true heroes as a regular actor for Johnny 2, Louis Koo's portrayal of Choi Tin-ming is impressive. He embodies the typical small-time character often seen in Hong Kong films, afraid of death, cowardly, and a compulsive liar. To save himself, he betrays his friends and even his godfather. Even during the execution of euthanasia, he kept babbling everything he knew to the police. This character setting makes him vivid. Even if not recognized by the audience, the villain's image is instantly established. This film not only earned the director and crew honors at renowned domestic film festivals like the Golden Rooster and 100 Flowers Awards. It has also won many international awards, truly well-deserved.